meeting to order. Mr. O'Connor is going to turn on the filmmaking machine.
Hopefully.
Okay. Where we left off, that's where we stopped. Just by way of summary, we were going through the warrant articles, and we get down as far as Article 15, which we were discussing when we lost a quorum because Eddie had to leave at 5, as he had previously announced. I sent out the minutes of the meeting, correcting a couple of bookkeeping issues from the previous meeting having to do with clarifying the votes on Articles 23 and 24, which is hopefully correct now, and also refining the vote on Articles 25 through 34. And then the rest of it was listing the votes on the articles that we did discuss, which are 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14, all of which were approved by various margins.
Do we need a motion to accept the minutes as written?
Yeah, if everybody discusses.
I keep an eye on you.
Okay.
I'll second.
Okay. Okay. All those in favor of the minutes as presented, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. And it wasn't that my typing skills were off, and everything was either EM or GK, but that just was the fact that there was a lot of Eddie Moore and George Kirk cooperation and participation. Right, George?
Yes.
Right? Okay.
Considering Radigan's suggestion.
Oh, how things could have been different.
Hey, where do we want to start on this thing? Do you have anything to present before we get to this?
I can talk with you about the SEA contract if you want, or we can go right to the Opera House. As you notice, there are some numbers that have changed on the side of this because of one added warrant article that's actually up as number 2 right now. And we were missing one of the numbers last time we were here. 7A, yes.
Yeah.
So it's been renumbered. So,
But obviously, Garen, you're going to have to keep the lineage on that, so...
yes, actually I'm going to attach a copy of the one that you guys voted on to your minutes.
Yeah.
So that there's something. I've kept dates every time we hand one of these out. I've kept dates of what's going on.
And also in the minutes, we should identify any amounts, so that would be a double.
All right. So, Ron is here, and that's where we left last time, was with the Energy Committee Opera House.
Let's start there.
Okay, Ron, would you like to...
Peter is the chairman, and Bill Gendro is the guy who would actually work on the project, so they should probably be the ones to speak.
Okay, I know we've heard on this you already made your presentation on it, unless there's anything additional, or are you just here to hear us discuss it?
We're just here to vote.
Well, okay, that's what I mean. So, no, there's nothing else you need to offer, or, you gave us a pretty good explanation of it the first time around, unless there's anything to be added.
No, I don't think so. I think we're just here in case some questions come up.
Okay, well, that's fine.
I do think the last time you were here, you were saying that might be modified a little bit. Is it going to be modified?
We sent these same materials to Eversource, and they will be analyzing it for a rebate. End of the year is a big crush for them. They have to close out all the rebates they've gotten and make an accounting, and then the Christmas vacation, all that kind of thing. So I didn't think they were going to get to analyzing it until into January. So we won't know.
So it could be changed at the budget hearing or at the deliberative session.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, of course, they will not commit money until the article is passed. So we won't know really until after town meeting.
Oh, okay. All right. I didn't know if it'd be modified.
Yeah, technically, they'll tell us we're eligible and it looks good.
And what the amount would be once
And
it's
this, yeah, this is what it would be. So we may have the number, but it's all contingent, of course, on the article passing.
But we're gross budgeting anyway, aren't we, in the article?
Yes, actually, I have the article sampled here.
Yeah.
But we're budgeting for the full amount.
Yes.
If there was no
Right.
Right.
participation.
Yeah,
Alright.
yeah. So the only thing that can happen is it could go lower.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Okay. So Article 15, if you all remember, had to do, the major part of it had to do with the room right next door that was here, that was one of the unfinished portions of the original reconstruction of the Opera House. And,
17, not 15.
well, it was 15 originally, George, now it's
Oh, I'm
17.
sorry.
On the old sheet, it was 15, so. And that's what I mean, we need to make sure we know which was the new one, which was the old. Any, obviously, questions there here, if anybody has any questions, any discussion on,
Well, first of all, I'd like to make a motion to support this warrant article, and then someone can second it, and then we can have discussion, okay?
I'll second.
okay, so former Article 15, now Article 17, motion to support by Diane Cummings and seconded by George Kirk.
Okay. I want to encourage the committee to vote no against anything dealing with the Opera House. I've done a little research and going back into some of the town meetings like 2006, when you asked for $2.9 million for this building for the purpose of repairing and restoring the town Opera House building for a police station, town offices, and historical museum. Well, the police station, I believe, did move back in here for a short period of time.
No.
Okay, police station never did. The town offices never moved back in. But we put $2.9 million into this building. That's what we approved. We approved it.
No, we did not.
Yes, we did. It's right here.
No.
Yes vote, 1,053, no, 812.
Yeah, you needed a 60% majority for it to pass, and it didn't.
Okay. So that one didn't pass.
That one did not pass.
No.
So-
It had a majority, but it did not pass. It needed a super majority.
All right.
But it did
But then
not
the
pass.
next year, you asked for $500,000. This was in 2007 for stabilization and partially refurbishing the town building and Opera House. That did pass. Then in 2010, you asked for $23,500 to purchase new curtains, chairs, tables, piano, and other needed equipment to repair and rewire electrical, lighting, and audio systems. Another $23,500.
Can we comment on that?
Sure.
Just before you go on, just
Okay.
so we don't get off the record here.
That one did not pass. The reason why it didn't pass is someone felt that there wasn't enough information on what we were spending the money on.
It says here passed, it's 645 to 397. It says passed.
Did it say chairs?
Article 29 passed. Yes.
Okay, that one did pass, I'm sorry.
For $23,500.
There was one previous to that that did not
That's right,
pass.
because we did have one that involved the curtain that didn't pass previously. That's right.
Okay. Then in 2011, it was to see if the town will raise $35,000 to renovate, repair, improve, clean, and furnish with tables, chairs, other furnishings, the Selectmen's Meeting Room in the town building. That's this room here for $35,000. That one also passed. And in 2016,
Can we have?
sure, I'm sorry. Yeah.
I'm sorry to keep interrupting, but that one had a matching amount that was supposed to come from public donations. We never got the public donations, so we only expended what we had available, which was $17,500.
Okay. But you did have money available to do according to, because it did pass.
Some of those items.
So the town people were asked to come up with that money. Now, 2016, you're asking for the Opera House building maintenance of $5,000. In the budget, under the Opera House, you're asking for $42,609, $12,400 for maintenance, another $5,000 here for maintenance, and then another line on line 15, another $5,000 for maintenance for the Opera House. So that's $22,400 you're asking this year for maintenance on the Opera House. So it just seems we just keep putting money and money and money into this building. The selectmen don't use this building. You use it when you have to. The community house, I went over there tonight, I was chased out of there again. The community house, you use this only when you have to, but there's been money put into this room here for these meetings. You're not using this building. You're not generating any income from it, you're not generating money from it, you're putting money into it every single year.
There is income.
And you're gonna keep putting money into
income
it.
being generated from it.
The only thing you got in here is the museum and the,
No, there's events too.
there's a what?
Events,
There's a, yeah,
lights,
you're generating some funds, but you're not generating enough to pay for the maintenance of this building and maintain this building. And this building by now, as many years as it's been in existence, should be pretty self-sufficient. Now this is of course all my opinion, but when we get into the deliberative session, I'm going to get up and ask the people to deny everything dealing with the Opera House and give them the same figures and same information. So I'm asking you guys tonight to vote no on anything dealing with the Opera House.
Okay, but obviously, I understand what you're saying, and we've all experienced frustration with this. And if the original 2.9 million article had gotten a 60% vote, we'd be in a much different situation. Unfortunately, it passed, but it didn't pass by enough to do it. And that was the first time that the town of Littleton had come up with a complete soup to nuts, A to Z solution for this building. We were fortunate after that we did have other funds available that we matched with the $500,000 that the town raised, and like as I told you before, we did get virtually the whole $3 million job or $2.9 million job done for $1.5 million. So we've done pretty well, and the town has time and again voted to support this building. So there's been a community, groundswell, if you
Well, the
will.
chamber put $100,000 into it
Yeah.
in that neighborhood?
Okay.
But are we paying the chamber back for that?
No,
No.
the chamber's paying for it.
Because you mentioned the other day that we still owe money on that.
We still do owe money on it, and we're paying it monthly.
The chamber.
So we're paying back the
chamber.
chamber.
No. The chamber owes money.
The chamber owes money.
They
Oh, I thought you
finance.
said we owe money.
Okay.
No, the
But
chamber.
anyway, obviously, we have certain things we have to do with it. But getting to this one, as Ron explained when they gave the original presentation, and Peter also, this deal, this deal in and of itself pays for itself over a relatively short period of time. So why would you not do this, in spite of what you would feel about the rest of it? If you feel that there is bleeding going on, if you would, this is going to slow down the bleeding. And we are committed to obviously making this into a cash flow positive entity, and it really has the ability to do it. And we've moved in that direction, probably not as fast as most people would like, but there has been progress. But as this proposal has been presented, like I told you before, if this was your own home or your own business, you'd do this in a heartbeat, because if you could
But
invest...
I wouldn't come to somebody else and ask them to fund it for me.
No, but this...
I would fund it myself.
I know, but this isn't. This is the town of Littleton's property.
I understand
So
that.
in this case, Littleton is you. Okay, you are Littleton.
Well, it's the
Littleton is
people.
you. That's
The
right.
people have a chance to vote on it, but
That's
I
right.
encourage you
Yeah,
guys
so
to vote no.
So I can't come with a proposal to do this. Ron can't. Peter can't,
Okay.
because it's the town of Littleton's building, and this is our. But it's certainly. They've done their research on it. It certainly makes total sense to do it, and and why not? It's.
Well, one of the reasons, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
One of the reasons why not is as I look at this budget, I'm really frustrated with my taxes. When it went up $800 a year, I'm on a fixed income retired. I don't have $800 a year. I just applied for a job down here at this tool company because I couldn't make up that $800 a year. So I'm frustrated with the taxes. That's where I'm coming from.
Yeah.
Okay? So you got to find some way, because when the town, right now what the town needs to do is fix a lot of necessities. Things that you have to have. Streets, sidewalks, police cars, town trucks. There's a lot of things that have to be fixed. The new sewer system, $1.8 billion added to the budget for a sewer system. You have to have those. We don't have to have this house. This is a nice to have thing. It's not necessary. If this doesn't pass, it's not going to have a health or physical issue to the people of this town.
No, but
nobody's going to suffer from
But
it.
they will create over the next 5 years an additional negative cash flow that doesn't have to happen. Okay. So anyway, I appreciate the input, but we've heard the argument and whatever else. But I guess the committee.
Just as a quick review, one of the jumping.
Yeah.
This $44,000, give or take, would pay itself almost pay itself back in 5 years, right?
Yes.
At today's energy costs.
Well, average, it's based on an average of 5 years of propane costs.
Right.
So, yeah, propane probably is going to go up, we think, in coming years.
And so that would be assuming we got absolutely nothing from Eversource.
Correct.
That's what the
correct.
case would be. So if they helped as they might,
Right,
it could be less time to pay it
that's
back.
correct.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure I understood that.
And we don't have to wait for our money for them. They pay it on day one. So the $44,000 is less. We don't have the savings is the same.
It's not like they give you so much a year for 5 years.
That's right.
No, they'll pay it down.
Any,
What we're looking at is, the bottom line is that propane savings is going to be about 3,800 gallons a year. And that's from the time we do this project until this building no longer exists, which who knows how long that's going to be. That's where the actual savings, because the prices fluctuate. So we tried to base it on 5 years. Actually, because of the prices we're paying this year, we're looking at more like 5.6. But if the price of propane jumps up, it could drop it down to 4. So prices do cause it to vary, but the actual savings of 3,879 gallons a year is going to be steady and consistent from year to year.
any further questions or discussion in the budget committee? Do I have a motion? I already have, sorry, I already have a motion. Yeah, and we have a second. So, yes, we have a motion already. Sorry, I got ahead of myself, we're behind. Okay, so if there's no further discussion, I call for a vote. All those in favor of supporting on the new sheet, Article 17, Managed Committee Opera House article, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, so that article passes 5-0.
Are you voting on that?
No, I'm not.
Oh, yeah, there are 5 votes.
At least
Learn how to
at least I
count.
counted.
I forgot, I didn't see that back in there.
Okay, next article is Opera House stage rigging.
Yes.
Which-
And I can speak on that because I've been part of the meetings with the Opera House Commission. And they're planning on fixing and installing, replacing if needed, the rigging on the stage of the Opera House per the safety codes that they've been instructed to do. There is over $15,000 in their special revenue fund that's been accumulating, and they've also got donations that they put in there. So there is money to offset this cost, so there's no tax impact.
That's different than the original proposal as far as no tax impact.
There is no tax
That's
impact.
right, but that's different from the original proposal.
I think they were asking for 15,000, and we didn't know that it was going to be offset by any
Oh, okay.
fund.
Okay.
So,
When we met with them, they did
Right.
discuss those possibilities. That must be stuff that they firmed up since then. Because at the time it was, and it wasn't even 100% sure it was going to be 15. That was going to be the worst case scenario,
Right, worst case scenario.
depending on who they actually hired to do it and how much local assistance they
I
had.
haven't seen the most recent bid, so
because Karen, originally they said that they had tried to get donations and things, and that they only had $1,000 at the time. So they do have
they
15,000
have 15,000.
to offset this.
Yes.
So are we correct in saying that approving this would be taking money that's already earmarked for something to do with the staging of the Opera House?
Right.
It's earmarked for the venue part of the Opera House to use toward that.
And this is mandated by
So
code?
My understanding it's required by the fire chief, but I think it had more to do with the state fire marshal. I'm not sure, but it has to be per safety code. And there's a special code that I'm going to have to include in the warrant article.
Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve this $15,000 with the understanding that the $15,000 already exists in a fund, so there will be no tax impact from this.
Second.
Any further discussion? Okay. All those in favor of supporting Article 18, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay.
Ralph, let me say something, if I may. This just shows that the town really does care for the Opera House, okay? I think the people of the town really do. I had a tax impact too, and it hurt, but I think this just shows that the people of the town of Littleton really do care for the Opera House, okay?
Well, it goes to their vote. It goes to their vote, and they'll decide if they want it or not.
Yeah.
That's no problem.
Okay, moving on to Article 19. Opera House Building and Maintenance.
This is one of the items that they'd like to get some work done on is the LED windows, the colored windows
On the front of the
that
building.
they've got,
On
and
Main Street.
it is going to be costly for that. They also want to put some heating in the hall as you come in. They want security cameras. We've been trying to get some funds together to do some security cameras for them. They still have a little bit of a problem with the door downstairs. One of them doesn't lock, or it locks and you can't unlock it. So the other one item they've got on this list as a potential item is moving the thermostats, because they feel if they're moved, they may not be activated as quickly if they're put in a different location than where they are right now.
They are catching a draft or whatever.
Wouldn't that whole energy audit,
It may,
Attend to some of these
it
things
may,
and-
but I think that was more for insulation. My understanding it was insulation.
Were you aware of those situations at all, Peter? Or?
Yes, we were told of them, but there were no specifics available, so, you know, we couldn't put a number or a scope on it.
that's what it should be.
That basically, or we could have included it, but at the time, it was only the installation that we focused on.
It's just like at home, like you don't put a thermostat in the hallway, right?
Hey, we've done everything wrong that we've done in our house, trust us. We know how to do it all.
Everything wrong.
Karen, over and above this warrant article, what is it? Because I don't want to go through all the papers. In the regular budget, their regular budget, they have some maintenance
They
and
have some
repair.
maintenance.
And how much is their maintenance and repair on that? Do you know? I can dig through too.
Look at this. The whole picture.
I just think it's something that before we, well, actually, you should have a motion first.
This
Well, we have-
$5,000
yeah, we
doesn't seem
have-
like enough to do all they want to do, actually. The $5,000 doesn't seem like enough to do all they want to do.
Okay, so we go in the order of what we're supposed to go on.
Yeah.
I make a motion to support Article 19, the Opera House building maintenance for $5,000.
Second?
A second.
Now you can keep discussing.
They have 5,000 in the budget too. But some of the things in the budget that we'd like to do is to do some work on this room as well. Before it can be used really officially, it needs to have some sheetrock on the side of the windows. The
Finished.
windows need to be finished. There's a lot of little jobs around here that have to be done, and we're just starting to attack them now.
Okay, so I'm going to be the pain here. I know that there are a lot of people working on these buildings and would like to see the energy efficiency, like to see it completed. There's the commissioners that are trying to make the venue as great as it can possibly be. But it's a lot of individual little pieces. And so is there any way in the next year that we can have a larger umbrella so we know all the pieces put together? And do we have someone in working for the town that really goes through all the buildings and also confirms that these things are actually necessary or being done in an order that we don't have to repeat some of the things? So that's the thing I'm concerned about.
Is there a big point?
Yeah, this
Is there a big one?
this past year, one of the things that I realized was we didn't have anybody like that. We have quite a few properties in town, and there was no individual who had the knowledge and skills or the task of going around and maintaining these buildings. So what we did was we brought on a buildings maintenance coordinator. The position had been kind of tucked underneath in the past. I think it was under the person who was the town clerk, and it was kind of moved around, but no one was, from what I can see, was actually managing all these projects. And we have Amos Bell, who we brought on. He also does work for LIDC and for not Merchants Bank, Ahead, and
One of the other banks, Mascoma.
Mascoma. And this
Yeah,
this is specifically what he does. So he's been coordinating it all. We're trying to get various contracts all coordinated to, whether it be, for example, the overhead door maintenance of our buildings. We've got with the highway department, police and fire, coordinating contractors for any of the work that needs to be done, following up on issues, and like the HVAC and all the other things that happen. There's a lot to manage. He saved us quite a bit of money from very simple things to more complex. I mean, one of the things was we would get phone calls on the weekend. There's no heat or no hot water, and what was happening is somebody would go into a dark room in one of the levels and go to flick a light switch, and they turn the oil burner on. So he installs a plastic cover over that. Or the HVAC, we found a issue where there was a fan burnt out and it was installed, and we got a massive quote. He looks into it, finds out, well, this fan is just burnt out and was installed backwards. And just having somebody to kind of really look at the contractors and look at the details has been good.
Because I think all of these pieces need to be coordinated through that person. And just so there's a second opinion, I like a second opinion. So, anyways.
And I believe he's been coordinating with Energy Committee and with Opera House Committee and Chamber and all the other departments. So, on all these projects.
He's been working what he can. It's a part-time position.
Very limited hours.
Oh, I totally understand that, a part-time position, but sometimes I think we really need to get someone that can just go around and, even before, let's say, this whole process, to anything that you have on your list, just say, go and take a look and see what we actually need, or if we need to get bids first to see how much we need to put in the warrant article. I just kind of have a feeling it hasn't been coordinated as much as it could possibly coordinate it for everyone.
It sounds like you got the right person wandering around looking.
Yeah.
I just think in light of the fact that we're going to recommend this $44,000, which is going to save money, we know. Right,
Yes.
guys? It's going to save money. And I know that $5,000 doesn't go very far for maintenance and repairs, but one of the things that we've looked at, just chatting with the gal from the chamber, with Jessica Butler, are some ways of making a little bit more revenue, which would nicely cover, if even half of what we talked about happened, could put a dent in this $5,000, then it would not affect the townspeople. It might be that on a year we're asking for $44,000, we maybe have to make do with the first $5,000 in the budget. Just a thought. Just a thought. Especially if the chamber and other powers to be in this building can come up with a little more income. We don't get a lot of income out of this building, let's face it.
No,
For what it is.
This building has income potential beyond what we realize.
And I also think that the income potential has not been in a way that we can actually make income, because we try to nickel and dime everything and try to have this committee in charge of this and this committee in charge of that, and so it's very difficult with coordination. We found that out last year and even this year, that the coordination between each component, even in this building, they're not necessarily talking to each other as much as they should. I agree with Muffy, but anyways, I'm glad to see that we have someone kind of walking through the buildings and confirming.
He did save us a huge amount on AC. We had some air conditioning problems up on the roof, and the quote was over $10,000 to fix it, and it ended up coming in about $800, no more than $1,000. Just because we were told we would needed a whole new unit or a partial new unit, and come to find out it was something a lot smaller. He's actually pushing for 3 quotes when he goes out looking.
That's
for
great.
stuff.
That's
Yeah,
good to know.
he is doing a lot of the coordination and is speaking with all of those big quotes and all that you described. I mean, we could always do better, but we have very limited staff.
He sounds like he's doing a great job.
Yeah, for-
It sounds like we're off to a good start.
we are, yeah.
Okay.
Jimmy?
Just a thought, I think that maybe give it a year with Amos and maybe see what he sees working in the building. The list isn't specific enough. You talked stained glass windows. I'd also like the energy committee to bring forward the moving of thermostats because that could affect how the whole building operates.
Yeah, I mean,
And then prioritizing within the budget you already have.
Peter, is that something that you folks are in a position to do? Or?
So I didn't hear your advice to do.
Would the energy committee support the locations of the thermostats that they're proposing to move?
I don't think we've seen the exact proposal, but we would support, we've known or been hearing about problems with the thermostats and the controls, and it seemed like an obvious first thing to do.
The point is, you spend, say that article passes, you spend money in there, then we move it to a location that nullifies what we've done with other money. So there's got to be some coordination there.
Right. I doubt, well, I could be wrong, but I doubt that the installation effort would impact the controls, but it's a possibility. I mean, we're not putting everything in the walls.
Thermostat would impact it.
I just want to be convinced. That's all. You tell me it is, then I believe you.
So the Energy Committee has a program where we visit with every department throughout the year. And over the summer, we come up with our observations and recommendations on every building. That then is presented in its total sum to the Board of Selectmen. And out of that, we have some specific recommendations to bring forward for consideration for either in the budget or possibly in a warrant article. Having done all of that this year, the only item that we felt was worthy of bringing forward to the vote in March was the insulation of the outhouse. Many other things we've looked at, the stained glass windows. I'm a little upset about the doors if they're not working properly because they're like brand new. I'd like to hear a little bit more about that, but you know, we have a long list of recommendations every year based on visiting with the department heads. But this year, the only one we felt was worthy of bringing forward to the voter was the insulation. So we have a process in place to
Right.
systematically review it.
So we have a motion on the
Yeah.
floor.
A motion made and seconded to support Article 19 on the new list for $5,000 for Opera House building maintenance. Okay? So I'm going to call for a vote. All those in favor of supporting the article, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Nay.
Okay, so it's 1 in favor, 4 against. Okay, then next we have Articles 20, 21, and 22, all related to the Park and Recreation Department. I don't know, Michael, did you want us to bring these up one at a time, or?
Yes, I'd like to speak on probably the tractors that we are looking to purchase. So,
Then I could speak to the
and we can speak to the
So
first.
do we want to do them collectively, or want to do one at a time? I guess that's a question I had.
I can go with the first one, and then Mike can take
We
the
need
Okay.
to take a vote on
Yeah,
each
so
one
okay.
separately.
Yeah.
So we'll discuss them one at a time. And,
So, is there a motion to support Article 20 for the Parks and Rec Run Park Building Replacement Fund for $20,000? Is there a motion to support it so we can go into discussion?
To support it.
What are you doing?
Okay, made by Heather and seconded
Just a
by...
minute, we'll get into discussion,
Yeah.
I'll second it.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, so we have, last year the voters approved $10,000. I've met with architects. This was to come up with a plan to replace the building that's now not open to the public anymore up at Remick Park, to create a new community recreation facility. What we've done at this point is we have an RFP for our architectural services. After meeting with architects, we had to break up the project, the architectural design and construction designs, into 2 phases. The $10,000 isn't enough to get us construction plans, so the 20 would bring us to that. So this RFP will get us a community process started, get architectural renderings, and then the 20 grand will move us to the next level, so that we will then come up with a complete needs assessment of the community for what they need for a recreation facility, and get us to have plans to go to construction. So.
Andrew, do we really need an architect to design a park and recreation building?
Absolutely. Who else is going to do it? I think that if just like any building, you gotta have the experts put it together, and part of it is gathering the needs of the community, whether the needs now and into how long into the future. Do we want something?
Oh, shoot.
Are we talking about a building just for the people to go change their skates?
Well, that's what we don't know.
Okay. Well, we're going to spend $30,000 to figure this out?
Just a construction plan, so it would get us to the point where we'd be ready to present something.
But even before we get to the construction, we need to figure out for what purpose we need to construct. Jimmy, has there been any more meetings or?
There hasn't been since earlier this year, when we met with Ryan Glass, and I went to one of the meetings and discussed sort of what they were looking for.
I mean,
so I know you weren't
Yeah.
there for that meeting, and
No,
and it was more a general conversation as far as where do we see ourselves in 20 years, that sort of thing. And
So
I don't know where it's
expert
at.
on to kind of frame and pull that conversation.
Sounds like exactly where we were a year ago.
Yes.
I mean, I did make a couple of meetings myself, and I think we need somebody, Jim, to drive the project. I just say that to Jim just for. But anyway, the one good thing that came out of the couple meetings I went to, I mean, try to talk bigger picture here. I mean, that if you look at rec departments around the state, around the country, whatever, I mean, it's not all silos, if you would. There are communities that the library and the rec department actually are one. There are communities that the senior center and the parks are one. And there's some that obviously all three could be together. And truly, when you originally hear that, it might strike you a little funny, but when you think about the people who use the senior center, who use the library, and who like to recreate, as older folks who are trying to maintain their health or whatever, or physical and mental, I mean, there is a commonality there, more so than maybe what strikes you. So, I mean, and I think that's kind of the bigger question, right, Jim? I mean, is if we're going to do something, do we need to look at, you have three entities, all of whom are somewhat struggling to maintain their financial structure, if you would, and that, that actually, if you're going to look at it, this is probably the time to look at all of it and see what interest or resources there may be. And the thing with the building isn't just to build a building. I mean, Michael could design the building to hold the tractor and have a skate changing room, whatever. We don't need an architect for that. But if you're gonna really see what kind of building and what type of services, this doesn't really apply so much to Littleton, but it just kind of struck me. I was out in Milwaukee a few years ago to the hockey tournament, and we went to the Pettit Center, which is a indoor skating oval, and I was struck by the number, this is in early April, and I was struck by the number of older folks that were there in that building walking laps outside of the oval. I mean, people are just looking for a safe place to walk when they're not going to fall down and fracture a hip or break a wrist or whatever else is the case may be. So, I mean, that's, Jimmy, without getting too far ahead of things, but I mean, that's the kind of discussion I think that we need to have before we, if it's just a matter of building a building, I don't think that's a...
Yeah, I mean, we had a loose discussion as far as, again, where are we going? What sort of programs do we have that are successful, and where do we want to go?
And to your point, exactly, that's what engaging a professional architect would do. That's part of the process, is they engage the community in surveys. They bring the people out. They really kind of vet out the whole process. What's offered here? What's offered in the surrounding communities that people take part in? So you're not reinventing uses that exist in surrounding communities. So you know, that's what that kind of drives the discussion, is bringing on a professional. So.
Bob?
Yeah, I would recommend that the committee go up and check with Colebrook. They have quite a nice rec center up there, and that's with a pool, a whole bit. And Conway's got one right on Main Street. In that.
And
Both
copy
of
their
those,
plans.
both of those came up in conversation.
Yeah, because I mean, you don't have to reinvent the wheel, and you get a lot of good information on what works and what doesn't work, and who's using them and who's not using them.
Is this 20,000, I know, Andrew, it would be great. Obviously, we'd all love this to happen. I mean, it's under anything. Is this a tough year to ask for $20,000 for planning something that won't happen for a bit? I'm just questioning that.
Well, yeah, that's something you have to think about, is what other projects are potentially competing in the slate of things, whether it be upcoming lakeway or.
I just know that through the schools and everything, and Bob, you can help me with my memory on this, especially when we are redoing the high school and the 7th and 8th grade and the Career and Technical Center, and we brought in architects, and but they kind of knew the programs ahead of time that were the existing programs, and then the shape of the school and the desire from the building committee that existed of local people, and those local people didn't pay the architect to do the survey and everything. They basically brought that information together. So I'm wondering if we could do that, if we could have a more structured committee and then go to this phase next year, just because we could basically bring up some of the ideas and then they could run with those ideas and give us some kind of renderings, so to
Yeah, I
speak.
mean, we were pretty ambitious there for that one meeting, and then it sort of, summer came along and we got busy with other things. So if we're gonna, be committee driven, do like what we did with the highway department, where we came up with the sketch and then put it out to bid, that's an option. But we gotta know what that sketch looks like, if it requires a professional. I guess I'd leave it up to the parks commissioners too. I mean,
One of the biggest problems that we have in our mind is where to locate it. Where do we locate a building? At Remick Park? Where do we fit it? So we have adequate parking, so we don't interrupt our fields. We need some help with this, because, go ahead, Diane.
I think that's what I'm basically saying, that when we were doing the Career and Technical Center and the 7th and 8th grade, the building committee had gathered a lot of the information prior to, what are some of the concerns. So you wanted to keep the 7th and 8th graders away from the 9th through the 12th, We had all of that type of information already gathered. And then they came up with a design that would help us achieve those goals. But to bring someone in at this point and trying to collect that, I think we can do that ourselves at this point. And then we can go next year and ask for the monies for the help from the architects for the renderings. Because we had 3 different firms come in, and the school board sat down with the building committee as well, but the school board actually were the ones that voted on it, which design was the best, and that was kind of basically free. They gave you a certain, I guess, a certain look and certain things, but they didn't give us everything. So then when we went with a particular firm, that's when they fleshed it out, and that's when we paid for it. So I think we can do a lot between now and then for next year. I think this is something that everyone wants to move forward on, but I don't think we're ready to hire anyone to help us.
Well, like Ron said, I think we're basically not much further ahead than we were last year. You really do need to pull this thing together as far as what you really want. And I understand Mike's frustration too. Where do we put it, and what do we do parking-wise, and that sort of thing. But I think that can be done locally and doesn't need to be paid for professionally.
Getting back to Diane's story about the school, and it was interesting how it evolved. But when we had rebuilt the school previously, there was kind of like a phase 2 to that a lot of people had in their minds was going to happen. Phase 2 ended up not happening, because one of the proposals was the original phase 2 one, and I always felt a little bit bad for that contractor, because that was a contractor who had done the rebuild of the high school, and his expectation was that we were looking for phase 2, and that's what he bid on. Another company came in with a totally different look, which is what ended up being accepted, and I think at the time, it was a little bit striking, but once we got familiar with it, everybody got a good feeling for it, and that's what we ended up doing, and ended up having a very nice product. But, there's got to be, we got to have a committee or somebody heading this up who's going to drive it over the next, 12 months, and if those services can be free, if you would, from interested bidders, and, it'd be interesting to have somebody come in and say, well, and I'm particularly interested in any of these synergies that could be realized amongst or between, the library and, because, you think obviously people who frequent the senior center or frequent the library, I mean.
You got a historical library, what do you mean? You're not going to move the library.
Well, you're not going to, yes. But the idea is that we gather a certain amount and the needs are identified. You need to have parking for X amount of people because our programs at this, when everyone's picking the kids up at this time or dropping them off, we need X amount of parking space. If we can come up with that type of information and then hand it off, they go to wherever, to our properties, and they take a look. And then they do the sketch according to that.
Yeah. But George, you would be so wedded to that building on Main Street, you wouldn't consider combining that effort with the parks? I mean, it's been done in other communities. I mean, I'm not saying the building's going to get torn down. I'm not saying it can't be repurposed for something else, but would we be
I think
opposed
we're
to
really going off.
We have to go back to the vote here.
I think we go back to this vote.
Well, I'm just saying, when you're facing challenges, you don't think outside the box.
I think
I think the
way too
committee
far
would do
outside the
that,
box.
Remember my Mick Jagger story? Half his hits came from the trash can.
But anyway,
Just along with your conversation, you also don't want to just build a building and then have things that are going to compete against other areas like the Boys and Girls Club or the competing against the library. You don't want to compete against them. You want to do something that's neat for the town.
so I
Is there Friends of Remick Park still, or is that gone? Or
There is, but it's very inactive.
okay, does the Parks and Recreation generate any revenue?
We don't have the needs.
It does?
We can't get them.
But they're again not self-supporting.
Can I comment too? I'm hearing that he commented that we're kind of in the same place we were last year, and I don't, without knowing more information, feel confident that we're not going to be in the same place again next year without having someone paid and tasked with doing this. I worry that if it's run by a committee, then there's a potential for not all avenues being really thoroughly looked into, because no one's being paid to drive up to Colebrook and to go down to Conway and to talk to all these people. And I do know that hiring an architect for a project is, your cost savings on the back end are quite significant. If you don't have an architect, you end up spending more on any project. We all know that. If you've ever done anything significant.
We don't all know that.
Well, I've been involved with a few projects that said, we don't need it.
I believe you.
We need it.
I'm just saying,
Yes.
we've, okay.
but I don't know if we're here.
Like designing traffic flow with the committee.
Because there is $10,000 in the fund.
But,
There's already $10,000, right?
10,000
Last year it was $10,000 passed last
There is
year.
that's right. Yeah, we do have 10,000. Yeah.
That's sitting, waiting to be used.
We have an RFP to engage services for that now. Yeah, and the 20 would be to kind of coalesce with that to get.
But the 10,000 would just be planning services to figure out
You'd
what
be
we need where.
planning some kind of like limited site location work and I think renderings and that sort of thing. I'd have to go through it.
I
It's
think
been a
the
while since I
committee
looked
would
at
love
it,
to see, I don't mean our committee, I mean their committee might want to see what this $10,000 brings in. That's just my thought.
Who's their committee? Sorry.
Well, the Parks Committee, I mean, there is a committee, you do have,
Well, I think what they're saying is it's fairly inactive. That's what my concern is. And there's
We
not.
need someone to lead it.
Yes.
Yeah, and maybe I think we can get that. I think we can.
Diane would be a good leader.
I was thinking suspicious about Diana.
Are you volunteering? Because you might sway my vote. I volunteer for that.
Second.
I was looking for a chair and a co-chair.
But, so we have a motion.
Yes, we do.
And I guess we've had the discussion, so.
Okay, so we have a motion to support Article 20, $20,000 for the park building replacement fund. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Nay.
Is that
So-
the bladed aye or nay?
No,
It's a nay,
Aye.
yeah. So
nay.
are you for it?
All those
or
opposed.
Against. I'm not in support.
not in support? Okay, so Heather was, okay.
I was the lone.
So,
Ah,
so we're
okay.
1-4. Okay, that's all right.
Okay.
But Heather, your thoughts are well acceptable.
Yeah, I
So
totally
see, we get that committee
No, you-
reinvigorated.
I think you and this,
It's going to happen.
Okay, Article 21.
Excuse me, Steve.
Sorry.
Can I stop this meeting and appoint these two women to do this? And that would be perfect by next spring.
You certainly could make that, no?
Yes.
But that's what it takes. I mean, somebody needs to schedule some meetings. It needs to be somebody that's a bit of a taskmaster, say this stuff needs to be done.
She's in town.
I live in town.
Ella, as you were going to say?
No, it's not. Doesn't need to be talked about at the meeting. I have ideas, but you zip it.
I think we can get together.
Okay. All right. Well, Jimmy, Michael, you can see where your resources are. So.
Some of your research.
Some of your resources, so make a note. Okay. So now we're going to move to Article 21, which says tractor. Do you want to have a motion, just so we get this on the table, motion to support Article 21, Parks and Recreation tractor?
So moved.
Second.
Nothing, George Kirk.
What do you want?
Michael, do you want to speak to that?
What we are looking to do is downsize in our tractor needs for taking care of our bigger ball fields versus buying a John Deere tractor with an enclosed cab and a diesel, and we're looking to buy let me hand out these. These are quick to give you an idea of what we're looking for. You're going to have to share them. This is the first tractor that we're looking to buy.
A laser cut.
Yes.
When you say sourced here in town,
To be sourced at P&S Equipment.
okay.
Yep.
Yes.
They gave me the lowest price.
No, the only reason why I was asking that was because we have, as a family, purchased lawnmowers at some of the big box stores, and they always say that they can repair it. But guess what? They have to send it away, and meanwhile, you have nothing. So I'm glad to hear that.
Yes,
That's all I'm
we
saying.
will buy. Our John Deere's come from either Lancaster or North Haverhill. So when I said locally, I meant the Littleton area versus going to North Haverhill to get parts.
Yes.
Yep.
Or having it be sent
Yep.
away.
Exactly. Yep.
Did they have a warrant article last year for equipment as well?
I believe it was taken off. The equipment last year was either failed or it was taken off the warrant at last minute. The selectmen can sometimes nix some of these warrant articles to reduce the total of the what's going to end up coming from taxes.
So we have a motion.
Any further discussion or questions of the Budget Committee? We have a motion on Article 21 to support the purchase of the initial tractor, which is now, is 14 the right price, Michael, or 13?
13,
is the
Steve.
right price, okay. Okay, all those in favor of supporting Article 21, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So that's 5-0 in favor. We have always kind of discussed it already, but a motion to support Article 22.
Sure, I'll make
Second
I'll
by,
make a motion.
I'll second it.
second by Mubby to support Article 22, the purchase of the second walk-behind version, if you would, of the same mower.
Do you have a walk-behind mower now?
We do. It's a John Deere. It's a 1990.
It sounds new at my house, but
It hasn't met our expectations. The tractor has not been a good unit. That's why we're looking to replace it with,
Can you sell that one?
we're going to trade it in,
So you
yes.
can trade it on this?
Yep,
And this still comes out to $7,000 when you
yes, yeah, because that's a $7,800 unit.
trade it? I'm looking at it.
This year is just, it helps us do our smaller areas quickly and more efficiently. They're zero turn, they turn on a dime, they can,
Great.
they perform very well. We'll have that tractor for close to 20 years. I won't be there, but somebody will.
So the mower decks between the two.
There's a 72 on the big one, Jim, and a 48 on this one here. The walk behind, as I call it.
They really lay down
They're
there.
both gasoline engines, so the maintenance isn't as complicated or as much as a diesel.
Oh, good. I doubt it.
Any further discussion on Article 22?
Yeah, I do, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Mr. Moody. Sir?
Just in case the tractor will not pass and the lawnmower passes, what are you going to do with the lawnmower?
If the lawnmower passes,
If the lawnmower passes and the tractor doesn't pass, because I guarantee you, you got a John Deere 1,500 hours. 1,500 hours in John Deere, it's like a brand new, it just to come out from the car.
come look at it, Rudy.
It's
1,500 hours?
In the winter. In the winter, it's a little different, right?
But just in case, okay,
Yeah.
forget about that. If the lawnmower passes,
Correct.
if the tractor doesn't pass, what are you going to do with the lawnmower?
I'm going to buy the lawnmower to do my smaller areas that we do, the Riverwalk areas, the areas around the park that we can't do with a 72-inch mower.
Yeah.
And I'm going to run the John
You're
Deere.
going to use the John Deere, right?
And I'm going to spend money on maintenance. That's all there is to it. We're going to fix it when it breaks.
Don't you also have another John Deere, a newer one?
We do. We have a tractor with a bucket on the front
Yeah, and a lawnmower.
and a lawnmower, and we use that also in the winter to plow the schools.
So you'll end up with 3 big tractors.
No, well, we'll still have only 2 John Deeres that I consider a big tractor. This is a zero turn. It's not a big tractor, if you will. It's a lawnmower like you see the commercial people using.
So, but basically you'll end up with 5 lawnmowing devices.
No,
Because you're going to keep the old one.
2 John Deeres that I
You're going
have.
to keep the old one. It's got a deck on it.
That makes that one and the tractor with the bucket make 2.
That's 2. This will be 3.
This will be 3,
This will be 4.
and the other one will be 4. Correct.
And then you'll trade one. So you'll end up with 4 lawnmowing devices.
Yep.
He's trading one in.
He's trading one in.
That one
So
will be
that's
5.
so he'll still end up with 4 lawnmowing devices. How many employees do you have?
I have myself and another man. But
Okay.
the John Deere that is going to be a spare mower. It's not going to get run every day. The one that we're replacing with the zero turn.
And it has a snowblower.
It has a snowblower for winter.
Otherwise, it would be just a tree.
Okay, any further discussion on Article 22?
Mr. Chairman, excuse me. You cannot leave the argument just like that, because you got to say something. You in a budget committee, you represented the people of Littleton. You know what you're doing? You not do nothing. You got to talk and say something. If you don't know, you got a town manager over here. That guy just introduced you that this guy is going to have a 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't have a 4. You don't have a 4. Nobody else. Why he's got to have a 4 lawnmower? You know, stuff like that. You got to speak up, my friend, if you want to be the chair.
Okay.
Thank you.
They do a lot of mowing, and if there's a department in the town of Littleton that has stretched $1 to go as far as it can, it's the Parks Department.
Parks Department.
So, I mean, they don't ask for frivolous stuff, and whatever they do get, they make the most out of. So, I know that Michael, he certainly researched this, he started through, and it's a well-considered proposal.
Just the efficiency of the zero turn, the previous warrant article in comparison to the mower. I mean, that's what the commercial guys are using
All over
I
the
mean,
place.
there's a reason for it, because it's faster.
When they're mowing grass, you want to get out of the way.
Say the man hours.
Jim, I completely understand what you're trying to
Yeah,
say.
I'm just-
My point is this, that we have a town manager on the right, and we have a chairman
Yeah.
over the budget. They both represented the taxpayer Littleton.
Yeah.
That's enough.
Yeah.
I mean, that gentleman over there, he gave him a question, how many you gonna have after you buy this and that? He gave him an answer.
Yeah.
Now, I don't see no response from the chairman and from the town manager. I mean, what if people watch the channel 2, right? Say, what the hell is going on? They don't understand.
Rudy, you heard my response, and those are my thoughts. And that's why I would support this article.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Okay, we have a vote on Article 22. All those in favor of supporting lawnmower 48-inch, that's supposed to be inch and not foot. Okay.
$7,000.
$7,000. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? So that's supported 5-0.
The 48-foot mower will be something to see.
Yeah.
Do the whole field in one hand.
We asked for 7,000.
Yeah.
Okay, where does that leave us?
We have the SEA union contract. We have, which is on here is number 12. We also have the stormwater roadway project bond, which is number 2, and then the budget.
So Karen, at some point in tonight's presentation, if we could, and I don't know if we should have it now or later, but I think I was talking to you earlier on the phone about an overall view of if everything on this passes, and we have not approved of everything, and so I don't know if, the selectmen are going to adjust or readjust these warrant articles accordingly, because they'll all go to a vote. But part of it is, overall, with all of these, what would our tax rate be? If you could just kind of go over that.
On the very bottom of this, there shows just under the total where you see a yellow line, says 2016 town tax rate. This was $8.57 per thousand this last year. Okay? So the estimated, with the default budget and all warrant articles, we're looking at $8.42, which is 15 cents less than 2016 rate.
That would be if all these warrant articles here were approved.
Correct. But that's if everything stays the same. The valuation, everything else is the same. You never can exactly judge where your revenues are going to be at or where the assessment's going to be at. But we have to look at it this way. In 2006,
Does that 8.57 for 2016 include that $2.59 we just got on our tax bill?
that includes only the town increase.
Portion of that.
Okay, so that is included in the same 57.
Whatever part of the town contributed to the 259 increase is in the 857.
Correct. It was like 74 cents from the town.
Really? From a lack of valuation? It was only a 74-cent increase?
Well, you have to include the school side, and she can't, we're not talking
But
about the school
that
side.
shouldn't have affected the town. That shouldn't have raised $2.59, the school part
No,
of it.
the 259 was the total increase, town and school.
Oh, $1. So the school, because of the evaluation of the more down, the school tax rate was actually higher than the town tax rate?
Oh.
Yes.
The school picked up more of the tax rate?
Well, no, the school is way more of our total budget, so percentage-wise, it went up more.
So, for example, like the school's budget last year, I think had an additional $800,000 in it over the prior year. So that equaled, I don't know.
So you took
80 cents.
the devaluation for the down was split between the town and the school.
So that raises, we have set amounts that will be raised from for the state education, local education, county, in municipal. And so those set values are then dispersed across the values of the entire town. You have to raise that amount. And so a decrease in the overall value of the town increases the tax rate or percentage that has to come from to cover each one of those separate budgets.
All right.
So I think I estimated the dam devaluation was about $700,000 worth of an increase in the budget, if you get an
To
equivalent.
the town,
Overall,
overall.
yeah.
Is there anything happening that in June or this next thing, Andy?
They're still in the process of I think the purchase and sale, and we'll be in discussions at some point with that.
So the reason why I'm trying to go over this is just so we can, because everyone is right, we need to be looking at the tax rate, the overall tax rate. As much as we all believe many of these projects are good projects, we can only support so much in the town. So if Karen would continue just going over that, please.
Just below that, you've got 2017 estimated proposed tax rate with all warrant articles. This includes the budget, as the proposed budget is $8.49 per thousand. So the difference between 2016 tax rate, town tax rate, and the 2017, if all warrant articles passed, is a decrease of 8 cents.
And then if I may interject, on the school side, they came up with a projected decrease of 83 cents if they do meet their goals of what they brought forward. So a decrease on the school side of 83 cents and a decrease on the town side of 8 cents. So at this point, we're looking at a 91-cent decrease.
What you say is right. Just in case, the warrant articles, the 3 warrant articles from the school, they pass. Doesn't gonna be 35 cents anymore, 30, whatever.
Remember here too now, the school year we're talking about is 17-18. So we're talking, the tax impact is not next year, it's the following year.
It's not next summer or next.
Well, it's not either one, it's not spring or fall tax bill, it'll be.
Yes, I'm sorry.
This budget is for the 17-18 school year.
Which the October, when we set the tax rate in October, whatever we pass this in March, that's the budget that will be placed in consideration, and the tax rate will be set on that. Correct, Karen?
Yes.
So the bill that we get in December of 17 will reflect both
not
the
both of
school and...
Yes, it will be the one that's being proposed, and if they come in where they had projected that they would come in at, I don't know, I mean, time will tell, but we haven't heard otherwise yet, that will be a decrease of 83 cents on their side.
For the budget 17-18,
Yes.
that would reflect in the final tax bill in December 1st of 2017.
Yes.
Also adjusted by whatever surplus that may not be from the
Yes.
16-17 budget
exactly.
that we're paying for now that may have a surplus at the end of June.
But the town budget will show up on that July tax bill, correct?
The town budget does not show up on your July tax bill. Your July tax bill is based on the last tax bill.
So none of this will affect anything till next December?
November, December,
Yeah,
whenever you
whatever
get
it
the
is.
bills out.
I mean, that's just for, that's convention, if you would, that we always just, the bill we send out in June is the same bill that we send out the previous December, the dollar figure bill.
The
Give or take.
dollar tax amount, yes.
Yeah, I mean, what you're actually sending the homeowner, the final adjustment is made in the second bill.
You don't actually have all the assessed values calculated out until September. They're due September 1st. Normally don't get finalized until end of October.
So anyhow, I just want to, because we're looking ahead for these two proposed budgets, combined right now, hopefully it'll be a 91-cent decrease in it.
91 cents a thousand.
Yes.
And that would also be predicated on the school having the same $500,000
No.
surplus at the end
No,
of,
no, no.
at the end of June? No?
No.
Why not?
That would be it, because next year, when you're setting the tax rate in October, yes, you use the amount of money that's the surplus, the unexpended fund balance that they have for this current school year. To me, that's always kind of like a bonus. But so whatever, we passed this budget last March, comparing that budget and the proposed budget, those are the two numbers I'm looking at right now. And that would be a proposed 83 cents or projected 83-cent decrease. So the budget that we passed and the proposed budget, so those two things. What will change it is if there are any unexpended fund balance from this current year. And so I think just comparing the two budgets together, it's a decrease, projected decrease of 83 cents.
Because the unexpected fund balance is sort of pie in the sky.
Yeah, it's pie in the sky. So I just wanted people to kind of have an overview, and we're not just spending because we think, we're sitting in a good position. I think everyone looks at these warrant articles, and there's always a combination of several factors going on in our decisions. One, it has to be a viable, well thought out project and warrant article. It has to be supported by a lot of good information. That's the first thing that I think we all look at. Second thing is, yes, we all try to save on the tax bill. We try to balance it out. We try to not overspend. And, we all are concerned about the tax rate. I think the other third thing that we all look forward to is, penny saved is a penny earned. However, saving, what's that other phrase? Where, penny-wise, pound foolish. And we want to move everything forward, still going forward and in a positive way. But the other two, number one and number two, are really what we base our decisions on. So, but we also have to see the overall projection here, and that's why I wanted to do it.
Are you working toward a motion that we pass everything else?
No, I'm not. I wanted to review that so we all know where we are at this point.
And there are 3 reports that we have to look at, is that correct?
I think so.
But
Yes.
before the devaluation, at the 2016 town meeting, what was the town portion for the tax rate?
You mean for 2015? Before the 2016?
At the
2015 tax rate.
At the 2016 town meeting, when the town meeting, the voters voted on everything, what was the tax rate at that point?
It would have been 2015's tax
It
rate,
would
and I
have
don't
been
have that here.
Okay, you're asking about the school percentage?
No, just the town portion.
No,
What's the
but
town portion?
one is opposed to the other. I mean, the school is probably around 65%.
Actually, he's got a town meeting, town report right there. I might be able to find it.
From what year?
Yeah,
I think he's saying
2050.
2015.
yeah, because the first part of the 16s would have been based on the prior.
Okay, when we voted in 2016, March of 2016,
Sure.
at that point, a tax rate was established.
It was an
For the
estimate.
town tax rate was estimated. So
Yes.
what was that town tax rate?
Similar to this 857 or 842
Right.
now.
What was it at the end of the town meeting?
Without adding everything together, the town budget alone was $7.02 per thousand.
Okay, and
Without
here, so
one.
it was $7.02?
$7.02 per
Okay,
thousand.
and now the 2016, you're looking at $8.57.
No, you're talking 755 right now.
For the proposed budget, if you look at line 3, $7.62. $7.62.
So there is an increase in this budget over last year, without the evaluation.
There will always be, as long as you continue having contracts that go up a certain
I guess that's
percentage.
where I disagree, because I've dealt with contracts, I've dealt with budgets for years. And when I'm sitting in my office as the accountant for a major manufacturing, they come back and say, give us a budget 10% less than last year. That's what you better give us. It doesn't always have to go. The town of St. Johnsbury is dropping this year. Why can't Littleton have a town budget that drops?
Not unless you had some significant personnel changes. Because the things that are going to drive it every year are the union contract, health insurance, and retirement plans.
Or bonds that have been paid off, debt service that have been paid off.
But those are the three main items that, I mean, remember when we went to the school, that first night they gave us the presentation on their initial budget. They had $650,000 roughly in contractual obligations, and of that $600,000, I think roughly $500,000 was the union contract, health insurance, and the retirement plan. And in New Hampshire, the retirement plan is in very bad shape, underfunded, and we are only addressing that liability in 2-year increments.
But if you take the overall budget, somewhere along the line, at some point, there should be a decrease from one year to the next. We should be able to see a decrease. I mean, if it means headcount, it means headcount. As a manufacturing human resource manager, I was always told, you got to reduce your headcount by 10%. Do it. Fix the budget.
Ralph?
Yeah, I don't still understand why you can't see a budget that comes in at less than $7.02 per thousand.
Ralph, can we, I'm sorry, we have 3 more warrant articles.
Okay, I'm just voicing my opinion.
Yeah, and I don't mean to cut you off, but we...
And Ralph, that is not a frustration that goes unheard. It is difficult, and we realize, obviously, in private business, those decisions are made every day. But
And just to comment on that, in private business too, I mean, there's some things that we're really constrained to. We still have to plow your roads. We still have to provide safety. We still have to be ready for fires. In a private business, you can maybe figure out that you could maybe change which widget you produce. So we have a set number of customers and services. So it's different worlds.
so which order do we want
Let's
to take
do
these in, Karen?
the SEA contract,
Okay. Which is number 12.
which is number 12.
And you have this handout for us.
And you have the handout. You have a summary of the changes. I believe I gave you a copy of the summary of the changes in the police CBA, which was put together by our attorney. And I have wage information there according to the contract. It's this paper with the fancy little punch on it. So my calculations for the first year for wages for entire year, the increases amount to $40,163.26. 9-month estimate is $30,122.44. We have some savings calculated out for the health insurance. We have some different plans. We're dropping some percentages that we have to pay. The employees are picking up a slight percentage on that side. And that's going to continue for the next year as well. We're dropping the insurance buyout on new hires to $2,000. It was $3,000. The calculated savings for the 9-month estimate is $6,692 on this contract. We have some disability insurance changes. We presented a change to them, and they've accepted the change. It's going from a 3-day waiting period to a 10-day waiting period, which actually saves on our premium by going to that longer-term waiting period. So we see about a $2,000 savings there. We have some added item. This is going to be for the first year. They're going to have a Master Patrol Officer bonus, and I did a calculation. It's 1% of the annual base salary. but I used the highest employee, the highest certified officer, and calculated according to that. It's $608. The uniform cost has increased from $600 to $700 per year, so that's a $100 change. There's 10 that qualify in that, so there's $1,000. Longevity pay, we've increased that by $100 per year of service, and there'll be 7 people within that range, so it's $700. That's the longer you stay with the town and work for the Littleton Police Department as a certified officer, you get a little bit of money put into a retirement account. So the total cost of the first year, 9 months of the contract for 2017, which is going to be on the warrant, is $23,738.34. And I think it might need to be an adjustment on the one that we've got. Yep, it's $23,739, so it's rounded up.
And Karen, the reason you're giving us the $40,163 figure is just for reference?
Just for reference. It's what I use to base the 9 months on. It also helps me going to the next year because a portion of that contract first year goes into the next year, January through March. So if you come over to the second middle section, you'll see plus January to March 31st, $10,040.81. That's the 3-month estimate. Then up above, you're going to see the raises for the second year of the contract. The total for the year, if they got the raise for the entire year, would be $27,988.39. For a 9-month period, because that raise doesn't become effective till April 1st, is $20,991.29. You're also going to see a health insurance savings the second year. It's a little bit less than the first year, but it's because they're picking up more of the premium. The buyout doesn't change from the 2,000 down, so that can't be counted. But the insurance premium share that the employees are paying is increasing on the second year. So there is some savings there again. And then the total for 2018 for the 9 months is $26,036.11. I also put a calculation in there per person cost. And then because there's a balance of the contract year that goes into 2019, I've calculated the savings as well there, and the cost of the raise. The cost of the raise for January to March is $6,097.10. The savings on health insurance, because again you're only seeing that savings from January to March, is $1,249. So the total cost of those 3 months is $5,748.10. And this describes what other areas have changed in the contract. There has been some changes with the leave time. There is some area where the leave time has been reduced and some areas where it's been increased, depending on longevity. If you really want further detail, I can give you a copy of the union contract. It's both been ratified by the union and by the selectmen. The selectmen have already voted on this contract to support it, 3-0.
An increase?
To support this contract.
An increase?
It is an increase. The increase averages out about 3% per year. Their actual increase to their wages, the first year is 6.16%. The second year is 4.07%.
You didn't mail what?
Here is 6.1 and
4.07.
That's wages and benefits?
That's wages only, but the benefits have been adjusted, so it reduces it down to closer to 3%.
So there's been a trade-off, so to speak, between an increased wage and assuming less benefits or more personal liability.
Please, so it's the contract.
That's not the complete one. I can give you one at the office.
Speak to some of the thought process about the pay. I
And
remember earlier in the year there was a discussion about the police officers' pay in line with other departments and where they were going.
Paul, would you like to?
Sure. So, I'm judging from Rudy's reaction, I think it needs some explanation, but the board, and I don't speak for the board, but the board was briefed on the fact that overall the wages for the officers $2 less an hour than the median, or average, excuse me. So we had concerns, and earlier in the year, around June, lost of 2 officers due to the fact that we weren't even meeting that average pay. And a lot of it does have to do with pay. And our concern is not only is it retention, but it's recruitment. If we're trying to recruit certified officers, if we don't even meet the minimum pay, or the average pay, excuse me, it makes it extremely hard. So, for example, if I have to hire an officer that's uncertified, and generally we want to try to find an officer that's certified, it's going to cost first year between 12 weeks of field training and 6 weeks of the academy salary, and total equipment outfitting around $27,000. If we're able to find a certified officer that is attracted to our salary, so we're competitive, and we do offer, we're flexible on our sign-on bonus, and I went on the high end on the sign-on, 8 weeks of field training. Because they're certified, we don't have to do the full 12. We might have to, but we don't. And the total equipment is around $14,000. So there's a cost savings of at least $10,000, $10,951, just in the attraction and recruiting of a certified officer having a competitive wage. And then there's always the fear of losing officers to other departments that have much better competitive wages, and they're very quick to go. We're dealing with a different generation, and this generation is more, they want things that, it's not about commitment to as much as it is what you can do for me. And I'm not trying to be derogatory. It's just the millennials are about protecting themselves and their interests, and you can't blame them for that. But as far as the department, where we invest a lot of money in the training of these officers, we have to be able to keep them on board for a period of time. And so we recognized after doing the survey that we were significantly low in our initial base salary, our base wage, by about $2 an hour. We didn't achieve that $2 an hour, believe it or not, even with the percentages that Karen had in the first year. We had to spread it out over a few years, and hopefully we can continue to stay competitive. But that's the goal.
Here, I have a question, it's minor. $23,000 on, maybe I'm on the wrong sheet, wait a minute.
The first year of the
Oh, no, the correct, this one's corrected, your estimated one, no problem. I'll say. But this is now approved by the 3 selectmen, and it is a collective bargaining agreement.
It's ratified by the union. It's now has to go, of course, it has to be either approved or not supported by the budget committee, but it has to be voted on by the voters to be official.
It's very hard for, honestly, for selectmen to be, to vote on this because they participate in the negotiation. Same with the school board. So, so that's really hard for them to come out and say, no, we don't support it. I just want that to be known, okay? But they may totally support it, so.
And here's the other question. What happens if the town votes, let's say the budget committee approves it and the selectmen have approved it, but the town decides, because they can at the town meeting, to vote it down. What happens?
You either have a special town meeting.
Okay?
We might go back to negotiations. We may end up coming back with the same contract or revise one. Or you wait the next year and try to negotiate another contract in the following year.
In the meantime, the police officers work without a contract.
They work without a contract, but everything's maintained as the last year in the contract. There is no evergreen clause, so they don't automatically get a raise.
Okay, just curious.
I know the importance of maintaining a salary grid here that's competitive. I know that at one time on the school side, we had four quadrants of a pay scale, and at one time Littleton, it was way down in the top of the fourth quartile. And you're saying that we are below the average, so I guess that would be we're below the 50% mark, so to speak, or wherever, however you want to say that.
I don't believe our employees are trying to be in the top of the range. But it's, for example, they're about $3.05 below what a state agency is offering for their base pay for a certified officer. So we always run the risk of losing our officer to very competitive and an agency that markets very well. So we want to keep our employees happy. We don't want our department to be a training ground. We have exceptional officers. I stand behind this, and I want to keep them here. I think we have a great team, and I want to keep it that way.
Well, the other thing too about this, just at a glance, and I don't know about the meat of this, because I think sometimes the other additions and not just the salary scale becomes the harder things to really negotiate and to accept. But just looking at the salary scale here, the steps aren't that large, and so from year to year they're not going to make giant gains in their salary. So that I think is what you're asking is very reasonable. However, I've not had a chance to look at some of the other information, so I know that for myself I would not be able to vote on this because we're just actually receiving it tonight. You can't really think about it, So anyways, I'm just saying that it's hard to vote on something that you just received. But looking at the salary scale, I think it's, it's good. Yeah.
And I believe that they made concessions on the medical side as well. Karen can speak about that, but there were other concessions they did, understanding the overall impact.
Your survey, is that based on the state or was it based on North Country?
It was based on both, and it was based on departments with similar demographics. So it wouldn't be fair to compare our department to Sugar Hill. But we looked at demographics, we looked at statewide statistics, we looked at departments that we could potentially lose our officers to. So it was all over the place.
I don't agree with Diane. I think that these guys have kids in college, they've got kids growing up, they're buying homes, and I think to keep them happy, we've got to pay a halfway decent wage, and I make a motion that we support this warrant.
Is there a second to the motion?
I'll second that.
So Diane's point is we haven't had a chance to study this. Excuse me? The one speak up.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Do you have the ability to hire at different steps other than one?
We have the ability to hire up to step 4 before we renegotiate with the union. If, let's say we have somebody with 10 years of experience to go over the step 4. But we're talking, this is base salary that we're talking about. But the answer is yes, we do.
To just compare that to the school, if someone has 10 years of experience, they come in on step 10.
That's not automatic with this.
So I'm just saying that's a comparison right there.
But who has the say in that, Paul?
We, as management, we have the say up to step 4.
Yeah.
And we can offer any of the steps up to step 4, depending on their time and experience. Anything we want to offer above step 4, we have to negotiate directly with the union.
And why would the union have any role in that?
I think it's a fairness factor with the union, and they've always been they've accepted the majority of our proposals.
I mean, if you had somebody, by the grace of God, want to move to the North Country, there was a real good candidate who was 10 years in the business, you'd actually have to get union approval to
go above step 4, yes, we do.
Really? So that's in the negotiated contract?
That's in the contract.
Guess I'm not sure why that would be there.
Years ago, it used to be just step 1. You came in at step 1, and that's where you...
Yeah. Joe?
To Chief's point, we have recruitment issues. I don't have retention issues right now with my department, but we had some openings this fall, and the list was short of people that applied. Karen would call. I got I got one in today, Joe. Go run and check it out. The truck I asked for is roughly $100,000. The loader we got last year is roughly $150,000. The bigger truck's around $150,000. And we want good guys in those trucks that are qualified, that can keep the truck on the road and can keep the equipment to last through its life expectancy that the budget committee wants. You want 20 years out of a loader, or 20 years out of a grader, 10 years out of a truck. If we can't offer, I don't want my taxes to go up any more than Ralph or Rudy do. But we can't keep guys, we can't even attract guys if we can't just at least stay sort of competitive. It's a big deal.
Yeah, it is a big deal. The
Yeah.
salary scale's a big deal, but I also have to say the other parts of the contract are as big sometimes because of insurance coverage and everything. That really is a big deal too. So all I'm saying from my point is that this information, you can't just take it in one night and then vote on it. So that's all I'm saying. But I do believe in the adjusting the salary scale to, for recruitment
So you're
purposes.
saying we should wait till our next meeting?
No, we don't have a next meeting, I don't think. I know, but I'm just saying that next year, perhaps we need to receive this a little bit earlier on that.
Mr. Chairman, on this subject, I just want to say, the contract that the chief, or whatever, the union, brought on the table to the selectman and the town manager, right, specified that it's $3, $4, $5 raise for the police officer, okay? Do they take that in consideration with all the other expenses? Because being an office, it's a mandatory. We need the officers over here. We need the safety. But if you need an officer, if you need the safety, that doesn't mean that probably the town is going to call up for something else to accomplish the safety for the citizen. Now, you come over here, you present all this beautiful budget over here, right? Who wants a tractor, who wants this, who wants insulation and stuff like that. Do you guys put, the town manager, the selectmen, do they put in prospect what it needs for the police to keep it going, police station, or the DOT? That, you know what I'm trying to say?
But I'm sure there's a...
You don't understand.
There's a balance, Rudy. Obviously, if we have police officers, we need something to police. So we do need to maintain the town that's suit for them.
Mr. Chairman, we're going to lose a quorum unless we consider 5 as a quorum and voting to maintain that quorum. So she has to leave. So we could maintain a quorum if you want to vote.
Okay. Okay. Well, anyway, you're just saying that we need to make an adjustment?
Yeah.
We'll still have 5.
We'll still have 5. We'll still have
So
a
you've
quorum.
got your quorum. You can go ahead and do what you're going to do.
So the question is, we have a motion.
Do we have a motion?
Yes, we do. We have a motion made by Joy and seconded by Diane to support Article 12. Is there any further discussion on Article 12?
May I have one other question? We're not having another meeting to discuss any more of this, is what you've said, right?
I don't,
So
we don't
this
have
is
a
our
plan.
plan to vote or not tonight?
We're going to
Yes.
vote tonight.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
Call for the motion.
All those in favor of supporting Article 12, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All those abstaining? Okay. 4, 0, and 1, correct? Okay, next hearing.
Okay. The next item, I'm going to turn over to the town manager, is the sewer stormwater roadway project bond.
Yes.
This is
Number
something- Number 2. This is something new that within the last couple of months has come up with an opportunity for the town.
Yeah, it's actually kind of ongoing for years. Milton, the select board, I guess back in, I don't know if it was 2010, maybe 2010, started a study of the town sewer system. Sewer system was broken up into 7 districts. The engineering firm stopped working on it. We picked it back up with a new engineering firm, and what I spoke about earlier was we're trying to incorporate a plan that brings together our paving, our sewer, our stormwater, so we're not paving and ripping the road up again. And what this is the first step in that. And this isn't anything for 2017. There's $0 tax impact for 2017. This is to get us in line for 2018, utilizing USDA funds and the state's clean water funds, which if you take a look at that handout, you'll see on the chart that has the breakdown of funding.
Marty, thank you very much.
And in fact, I've been told by the engineer that we should increase the total bond to $2 million to take care of some of the stormwater hookups that we're going to need to do to private residents. And to just give you a background on some of this, there's 37 miles of gravity sewer main, 1.25 miles of force main. Our sewer wastewater treatment plant has a capacity of 1.5 million gallons per day. Like I was saying, the system has been divided up into 7 sub-areas, and this is addressing sub-area 5, which sub-area 5 was identified because it has an infiltration rate that's 3 times higher than what's generally considered excessive. The project improvements will include improvements on Pleasant Street, Pine Street, Evergreen Lane, Union Street, Chiswick Avenue, and Cross Street. This area represents about 7.5% of the town's population, and what it will address is infiltration into our sewer system, broken sewers, sewer mains, storm drains, and manholes, and the whole set of infrastructure that goes with it. This would be for 2018. For 2019, we will be coming back again with another program, which will be sub-area 2 likely, and that includes the rock strain development. And as you know, some of those roads were slated in the plan to be paved, but if we pave them, we're going to need to go back and rip them out because of the poor condition of sewer.
Big question. Anybody have any issue with working past 6 o'clock?
No.
We're all set? Because it would be nice to get this done tonight, obviously. Andrew, can you explain the map a little bit?
So that's sub-area, that's the entire sub-area 5. Yeah, if you take a look at it, that's the sub-area 5 sewer system.
This
That's
is?
broken down, yep. And then,
It looked to me like it was the whole town.
no,
Where's Rob Straight's development?
Well, what part of the town isn't it?
oh, let me see, maybe I got the wrong map there. Oak Hill, Far Hill, Fox Ridge, Broomstick,
It's the yellow. Is that
Mass.
what you're talking about? The yellow on there?
Railroad. Yeah, no, this is, I believe that's just a census bound. Okay, no, this is, okay, the sewer system boundary line, but I don't think that's correct because it keeps going underneath 93 and Industrial Parkway. But if you want to look at this, I should have made copies of this one.
Okay, well, that's all right. I'm not trying, I'm just trying to get a sense of what we're...
Yeah, so,
Union Street really behind the car wash, some of the neighborhood behind that way.
yeah,
What was that?
It's sub 5 is basically the Union Street car wash,
Okay.
all the way
back
back.
to the side streets there that Chiswick.
All right.
You got it.
But nothing in Main Street, right?
That's good. I think it's a little bit of this, right?
Yeah, Main Street was taken care of during the phase 1 of Main Street, and with that, there was a lot of roof drains, storm drains that were entering into the sewer system. And so one of the issues that we have is every time we have a break or we have infiltration, which we have ongoing, and I'm putting this report up on the town manager portion of the website so you can look through it. But what happens is it takes away a piece of our capacity at the facility. And at a certain point, Joe probably knows the percentages, the USDA and the EPA, they come in and tell you have to build a new plant to make upgrades, which is very expensive. So what these projects do is investing in the long-term viability of our facility, increases our potential for growth. If we get to a certain capacity from stormwater, infiltration, and other issues, we can't expand the industrial park. We can't expand on Meadow Street, that sort of thing. But this takes care of more of that. We also have lots of breaks on this part of the system. I don't know if Joe wants to add a little more about that.
Basically, the plant's at 60% of capacity right now, so we can expand the industrial park and still handle more sewage. You can go to 80%, you can't go to 100% capacity, so we're allowed to go 20% more. But during significant rain events, there's so much infiltration that our numbers at the treatment plant go up so high that it's approaching a danger area as far as how much more we can put into the system, how much more the industrial park can expand. So by eliminating the water that's coming, so we're paying to treat water, like storm water, it's not sewage. It's costing us, and then it's also limiting what we can do with future construction plans, with future development. That's basically what this proposal will address.
And if you look at this kind of shows you that correlation of the rain flow, precipitation, and you'll notice like in the winter months there's big spikes in precipitation, but there's no inflow because it's frozen. But you can see during the months with rain, there's a direct correlation towards inflow and rain. And thinking about paving, I'm estimating the portion that will actually come from taxpayers for the $2 million project is about $351,000, which is about what we would be doing in paving anyways. We're able to make our paving dollars.
What we'd like to do on paving.
Yeah, we'll be able to make our paving dollars go further by combining these projects and getting this USDA and clean water reserve fund money.
The Main Street project, are all those roof drains done? I mean, I know there was a phase in when we did that. It wasn't that everything had to be done. Is that complete now as far as?
From what I understand, I know there was a couple of businesses that had issues based on the grade of the flow of the pipe coming from their roof drain into the sewer system, and so but for the most part, I believe they're all completed.
Generally, the theme was to get the roof drain separated from the sewer, and it was successful. 99% as far as I know. There's a couple of issues that I'm not quite sure if it was before my time, but yeah, they're all separated.
And if we have a large storm event, I know there have been times in the past where we may have, I know we've exceeded capacity at the treatment plant.
But we got close.
Right, and I know one time, this is going back a few years, but it wasn't uncommon in a hard rain that we could have an influx of 500,000 gallons a day. And but has that been mitigated to some degree, Joe?
Yeah, it's quite a bit. The spirit of the Main Street infrastructure was to separate. Aesthetically, we have what we have. And the spirit of it, from an infrastructure standpoint, was to separate the water from the sewage and minimize costs, upgrade the plumbing, the pipes.
Yeah, it says that we reached 3.16 million gallons per day during heavy rain percent, which is our maximum for maximum flowage is 3.6. So we're bumping right up there.
The other part of that is we the sewer plant as of December 1st, going back from what septage they receive from trucks coming in, not sewage through our pipes, septage haulers such as Schofields or Calkins or is it Dave White, guys like that. Their numbers have gone up from like 200,000 or 300,000 gallons a few years ago to now they were over 1 million gallons December 1st. And as the area, Littleton might not be growing, but the whole area is growing in general, and the hauls are all coming to our plant and utilizing our plant, which we make. Andrew can speak to the revenues that we see from that, but that's affecting the whole treatment facility and the whole system.
Do we accept septic from other towns other
Yes.
than Littleton?
Yes, but we, and
Yeah,
we're paid for that.
Huh?
They have a higher rate than those.
Yeah. But the numbers that, what I'm saying, George, are like 5 times greater than they were 5 or 6 years ago. There were over 1 million gallons coming in one truck at a time as of December 1st, which I couldn't believe.
You've seen those trucks driving on the
Oh,
road?
yeah.
Yeah, they
Lights
come
goes
through
by
Littleton
fast
all
with
day.
full, hey, Bob,
So Andrew, maybe,
lights goes down the street.
so therefore, so explaining this, so there's no tax impact in the first year, but, so how do you, what, you kind of alluded to it, but, so how do you view it looking forward then? I mean,
So,
you-
yeah.
that somehow, by us committing roughly $350,000 a year to road repair, that we're going to be able to do roughly $2 million worth of sewage and
Storm
storm.
drain, road improvement,
Yeah.
curving, the whole.
Yeah, the 350 is, is it 350 paving or is it 350?
You know, that's an estimate. Like if I go by what the engineering estimate has, for example, we have pavement with overlay. They have 100,000 pavement replacing with some trenching work, 140,000, and then there's contingencies and engineering portion of that. So, you know, the 350 is an estimate. It may be lower than that. We're trying to be.
No, but just to conceptualize,
Yeah.
moving forward, and I don't know how many years you're envisioning this thing going, but I mean, we commit 350 to road paving and rebuilding to some degree, and in receipt of that, or in return for that investment, we get roughly
1.7, 1.6 million.
a year in
Infrastructure.
sewage and stormwater.
And there's no guarantee that we would get the grant. The state's Clean Water Fund has already committed that amount. But if these funds wouldn't likely be spent unless we got the matching fund, and we couldn't do the whole project without that.
So
Actually, we
it's
planned on putting a warrant article in that specifies that this will not be expended until we knew for sure that we got the grants.
Okay, so, and it's a bond.
We have to do a portion of it as a bond because we have to come up with the money up front and get reimbursed for
So
it.
does that need a supermajority?
It will.
So 60% on Article 2.
And if it was bonded out, that $351,000, if everything else came through and we were on the hook for the $351,000, would that be a 1 year or how
That's
many
a 1
years?
year.
It would be a 1 year?
It could be a 1 year, it could be a 5 year. If we're bonding it,
That's what I
normally
was
that
wondering.
goes out more than a year.
So
if we did
that
we
hasn't
would
been
be-
decided yet?
Right.
Okay.
So if you bonded, sorry George, but if you bonded, let's say it's $2 million, so that's, we're gross budget here again, right? So the whole project, which we don't expect to spend the whole thing.
Right.
But, so if we did a bond for 5 years, then does that bond carry forward? In other words, in a given year, you, in theory, you could get $2 million worth of work done, of which we would have to, let's say we paid the $2 million, we get back 1.6, 1.7 million back. That money stays in a fund, which then funds the project for the next year.
Be paying the debt service.
We're just paying the debt service. The project could be
And then
done,
let's see,
it
let's
could
see,
be
keep-
completed, but we would just be paying for it.
Well, I'm just asking how that,
Okay, right?
I was thinking we just pay it off.
What?
We get the reimbursement funds.
yeah, but then what do you do the next year? Have another one of these?
Another one of these.
So
You
there's,
see, the USDA requires that these go out before the voters, so you would have to bring it.
annually, I mean, you couldn't do
Each
a,
time you have one of these projects, right? So there's seven districts,
yeah.
and I'm not sure that each 7 is going to have the same level of repairs that are needed in section or sub area 5. 2, I think there's some good work that needs to be done there with rock straight.
Yes.
And then 7, I know, has some work that will need to be done.
Okay, so this is gonna have to be done annually though, is what you're saying. There's no way of, Joe,
The
I'll come
different
back.
projects, my understanding, have to be done annually. Different projects,
Yeah.
different years. Sub-area 5 is probably one of the bigger ones and that has the most problems.
Yeah.
And if it works like Main Street, like what we did with Main Street, if there's any funds, because we ended up being able to get more funds in, we defer that so that it helps pay off the principal amount over the next couple of years to reduce the amount that's expected from the taxpayers. We did that with Main Street.
So,
We did that with another project that I remember doing when I was first here.
Well, just for the voters to keep it in perspective, this year, Hill Street and School Street, we just finished both projects up. It's the round numbers, $500,000. This project here would cost $350,000, and it would encompass all the neighborhoods we just talked about.
You know, and with Hill Street, School Street, that's entirely town funds, town
Yeah,
tax dollars.
Yeah, that was all all Littleton tax dollars, $500,000.
So I guess I'm just having a hard time in my mind about, in terms of the cycle of this. I mean, so this is one proposal for sub-district 5, and that's it. So then we would have to have a separate proposal a year or 2 years from now for sub-district 2.
2 is likely the next one.
Well, I mean,
7
whichever
one,
one.
yeah.
I'm not trying, but I mean, but it has to. Can't set it up and then have it kind of roll from one to the next. That is
No, yeah, the USDA wants the voters to show their support for the project. So.
Okay.
I just have one comment. There's one other utility, which is water and light, and so they need to be brought in with the planning on this. So
Yeah, it's.
I'm thinking of a situation where we had done a lot of work and they had a water main break, and it was
Right. Yeah.
right in it. You know, it was just hay, so
Right.
you could make sure that there's some coordination with their what they have for funding.
Definitely.
And maybe align areas that they have.
Yes, we've been doing that, and their commitment really has been, if they see that their infrastructure is adequate, then they don't have a desire to replace from both. What usually happens in these is you end up within, like, say, a foot of their line, you know, and you get close and things happen.
Yeah.
But,
yeah. So,
right. Like with the River District, for example, we're coordinating really closely with them, and in fact, Tom Considine was a member of our selection committee for the engineering for that, and we were really working.
So I guess maybe I was just, trying to just clarify that it needs to have a super majority of 60%, and that if we may or may not bond it out over several years, depending on whatever our needs are otherwise in the town for the budget. So I just wanted to clarify those two things.
And, I mean, from your experience, what for the bonding, $350 in 1 year versus over time, what do you suggest?
I don't know at this point, but I just wanted to make sure that I was understanding it.
But is it likely that the whole project will be completed in a year?
Yes.
So 5 would be a 1 year project. If it was started proper time of year, yes.
So you're going to bond, let's say $2 million, you're saying, instead of 1.8, but expect to only spend $350.
Because of all the other things.
That's right.
Right, but you have to gross
We'll spend
budget.
because we have to spend the $2 million and then get that.
Right, you have to gross budget for the whole project, but the net to the town of Littleton, roughly $350, so roughly 50 cents on the tax rate.
And in the past,
Right, roughly.
in the past, we have spent close to $400,000 on road repairs, so $351,000 is in the ballpark. But I don't know what other road repairs we'll need, in addition to that. So that's the reason why, right? So that decision would be made considering those things as well.
And to Jim's point, you mentioned water and light. We prefer water and light was involved because a lot of times when they say their pipes are good, we don't need any improvements here. We end up struggling with utility conflicts all the way up the road where there's a water main there that's at the wrong elevation for our sewer pipe that has to be at a specific elevation. So we would encourage water and light to get on board because it can only save us money. When we start opening up the ground and all of a sudden we see a water pipe that's not right, that's when it costs us money. It costs us in delays, it costs us utility conflicts, it costs us...
But regardless of what light says it's okay, when you see that, you call Tom. And
now it's a delay then. We'd rather them to be on board. I haven't been involved in the infant stages of the other projects, Jim.
Yeah.
And I totally agree with your point, and I encourage it to be well.
The kicker is if it goes in the sewer, then we pay to treat it. Sorry, treat it.
That's the best.
Ralph, give a quick comment.
What does the $351,000 hit the taxpayers in the tax rate?
It'll be 2018. once it's
And
spent.
then if it gets added to the budget, or it becomes another warrant article?
This would be the warrant article to create it, would become part of the default budget.
So, but there's no tax impact here.
Right.
But next year, there'll be a tax impact, but we won't see it at the town meeting. It'll just be automatic.
It'll be in our budget.
You will see it as part of the warrant article or part of the discussion during the deliberative session. We usually, that will explain what the expected tax rate is in 2018.
Right.
And if we bond it, what we expect it will be. The thing about bonding it, figuring over a 5-year period, it's not going to be a hit all at once, but it will also allow time for the project to close out, find out exactly where we are, and if we can pay it off early, then pay it off early.
I think Rob was asking, though, it's not going to be discussed in the spring of 2018.
Right, it won't be, it'll just be automatic.
Right, then we'll all be done.
I mean, we'll all be
The
done.
vote will also be done.
Because right now, it's gonna say, if the voters vote for it, it's gonna say no tax impact.
No, but we
That's
it would be, so when you get your actual, when you see the actual warrant articles, that will be spelled out very clearly.
Okay, there'll be no tax impact for 2017, but there will be
For
2018, okay.
We have a 400-page report, Ralph, that Andrew has on his desk, and if you want to, Rudy or anybody else wants to review it and have any questions, you can call me during the week, and I'd be happy to meet with you and show it to you. 400 pages of light reading on this, just so you can be educated, you can decide. So we want the voters to be educated as to what we're looking at and decide.
Anyway, folks, so we can,
Do we have a motion to approve or to support this?
no, we have not made that motion. Okay, so George is making the motion, seconded by,
Jim, do you want to second that? You'll do it? Okay. Talk him into it.
okay, any further discussion on Article 2, sewer stormwater roadway project bond?
I'd encourage coordination.
I gotta ask you a question. If I understood it correctly, just say that right now, if the industrial park, it would have some problem, with the sewage and stuff like that, right? The treatment plant, correct me if I'm wrong, the treatment plant, it cannot take
If we can reduce the amount of water going to the treatment plant that doesn't have to go there, it increases our ability to expand what does go into the treatment plant.
Now, let's talk about our future. After you start to work on River District, they're gonna have more sewage come down over there, right? Right?
I don't know that. But.
Well, you know that. I'm not saying you don't know. You know. Now, what happened? If we start to have a problem over there, what happened with the treatment plant? If we can't take everything that comes out, they do the industrial park and the River District. Do you meant to explain?
So Rudy, right now we're at 60% capacity. So the River District gets, the sewer gets modified, upgraded during that project already.
It could be modified.
It's going to be upgraded next year. That's part of the job. We can handle.
That will cost the money?
It's
already done. It's already done.
It's already included. We got a
Already
CDBG grant.
Okay.
All the sewer there. But the industrial park, the best analogy I can give you for the industrial park without getting scientific is that we could take 20 more Home Depot type establishments.
Wow.
And easily, 30 more. We could only take 1 or 2 more types of buildings that would treat with chemicals and cause different types of, Home Depot is a big box with some a couple floor drains and some toilets. It depends on what you're taking in the industrial.
No, what I'm trying to say, I'm pretty sure that, the town manager, and I'm below, chairman of the... Listen, that when they start to work on the River District, right, one of the project is a 3-floor condominium, right?
Okay. But in the River District project,
the residents over there, they're going to go.
Isn't there also going to possibly be some reduction
Because you're gonna get rid of infiltration. Yeah.
Right, yeah, the impervious closet, right? That's
It's
also
all
hopefully,
done, yeah.
that is or is not.
It is done.
Yeah, right, I mean, there should be a savings there too, in terms of infusion.
Steve, I've done
Infiltration, whichever.
All right.
Okay,
Let's
all
bring
right.
this to a close.
Okay,
Man, I think we're gonna have some
Having been
time.
thoroughly discussed and with religious overtones, okay,
We're gonna have some.
okay, all those in favor of supporting Article 2, the sewer water bond project, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, passes 4, supported 4-0.
With the $2 million.
You're gonna change it
Well,
up
yes,
to
you changed it
$2
to
million?
$2 million from 1.8, yeah,
2 million?
yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Karen, next.
The final.
The final.
Proposed operating budget. And we haven't made any changes in this, which I handed out December 6th, other than giving you a sheet, which I've given, I got a couple extras here, some adjustments that need to be made within, and I have a new number with a new number of revenue and an estimated tax amount for that. So, does anyone want?
This is basically Andrew's town manager's.
Yes,
budget,
yes. These were a couple things that were missed. One, we have the betterment assessment, which I continue telling you I need to add it in the budget. It will have an offsetting revenue. It's $53,500. Offsetting revenue is the same. I have to find out exactly how the auditors want me to enter it on the budget. We have some additional cost in assessing software support. That's our assessing system. After I had done this, we got the bill in for 2017. It was a $250 increase. BMSI, that's my accounting support, my accounts payable, tax billing, sewer billing, and assessing, a merger software. That's a $500 increase there. That's over all of those different software supports. Town clerk software support had increased $200. These bills came in after I had done this report. Transfer station credit card setup fee. This was something that we planned on doing before the end of the year. We put it off. There will be some setup and some software costs with that, but he will be able to take debit cards and credit cards. When we get done next year, the estimated cost to set this up is $300. Police software support on their shift plan software. The budget number that I have in here, after I had done the budget, I realized that there was an increase to it. Lori and I talked about it. $600. The police department mileage reimbursement for training a new officer for 16 weeks because we pay them mileage. It was not included in the original budget. It's $1,584. We also have the welcome sign, welcome to Littleton sign. It's $40 a month. So the total of that is $480. So your adjustments to the expenditure side is $57,414. So adding what we have in here plus this expenditure amount comes up with a new budget total of $8,704,099. Okay? Your revenues, because you're adding that $53,500 in, the new revenue estimate is $3,203,081. So your amount on the tax rate setting as the proposed budget is $5,501,018. The amount of the estimated town portion of this tax on the proposed budget is $7.623. Prior to these adjustments, it was $7.622. So
Okay.
that's what you're.
Yeah, because the betterment assessment, that's an in and out.
Yes.
So that's just how,
Yes.
the mechanism for that. So,
Yes.
so the items that we're really talking is all those $200, $300, $600,
Yeah.
$1584, and $40. That's right. $3,914.
I move that we accept or support the proposed budget. And we want to put that in as what?
Excuse me.
Article 3.
One more? Okay.
You guys wanted to remove the part-time librarian as well, so that figure estimated right now is $15,000.
Oh, so that's still in there.
We need to subtract this if you want to remove it.
Well, that's what we voted to, didn't we?
Yes, you recommended
Yeah, but.
the selectmen remove it.
Yeah.
I think we voted to remove it, but we also recommended the selectmen look at the number of hours that each department for insurance purposes. So I think we did vote on removing it, but there was consensus that we wanted the selectmen to look at the insurance,
For the
the minimum
trustees.
hours.
Trustees.
Yeah.
Trustees,
Yeah.
right, so, yeah.
And yes, and I think based on your presentation that night, they're well aware that they have some oddities that they need to deal with. Yeah, okay. Okay, so what you're saying now, you need to make that, so this $5,500,000, we're going to reduce by $15,000 here?
You are gross budgeting, so you have to take it off the $8,704,099.
So we have to take 15,000 off of that?
Yes.
Okay, so that would be what, 8,689,099?
Yeah. Yeah.
Reduce another 10%.
Right, but it's,
Yeah. Well, offsets the $3,914.
I move that we support the proposed budget on the town, for the town, at $8,689,099.
Okay. Made by Diane Cummings, seconded by...
Jim, second.
This is the big one, Jim.
Thank you, Jim.
I'll second that.
Heather's not looking, so knows you all know this. Okay.
When did that department-
Okay, so that budget, the town manager's proposed budget, if you would, that we have been working with, which was reduced significantly from the initial offering, increased by the $3,914 in adjusted spending that Karen came in with new bills, and reduced by the initial $15,000 for the part-time librarian that was included in the budget. And that's been moved by Diane Cummings, seconded by Jim McMahon. Any further discussion on that? All those in favor of supporting Article 3, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Supported 4-0.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yay!
Is there anything else?
No.
Andrew or Karen or anybody else? Obviously, as I say at this time, I thank everybody for their efforts.
Keep those extras.
What a thing.
Thank you guys for all the effort that you put in to help us with the budget.